Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum class. I'm your English teacher Zia. I welcome you to English grade 8 video lessons. My dear learners, now we are on our unit number 5. Let us look at the title and the theme and the sub-theme of our chapter. So our unit number 5's title is Cell Phone Addiction. We are dealing with the theme of health and our sub-theme is about concept of addiction. So I hope that you have read the lesson. If not, then you can read it and quickly understand that the whole lesson is based upon this theme of cell phone addiction. It tells you that cell phone addiction is very dangerous and you need to recover from this as soon as possible. Now, let's get started with our lecture number 1. Now, this is an introductory lecture where I will introduce all the different lectures along with the SLOs so that you are all ready and set to learn about this chapter's SLO within the lecture series. So with lecture number 1, our students' learning outcome is about verbs. Use helping verbs, transitive and intransitive verbs in speech and writing. You know that verbs are having different kinds, so we will be dealing with these two kinds with examples. Moving on with our lecture number 2, our students' learning outcome to be covered in this lecture will be distinguish and write 4 types of sentences. That is declarative, exclamatory, interrogative, and imperative. We know that there are different types of sentences with different purposes. So we will be covering these mentioned over here with examples and also some practicality so that you can recognize them when they come up or use them in your sentences and in your speech. Moving on with our lecture number 3, which is divided in different parts. For 3A, we are covering the SLO from vocabulary. It says use dictionary or thesaurus to locate synonyms or antonyms according to the context and use in writing. So we know that resource materials like dictionary and thesaurus are there to help us look for words and information about that word. And we will be using dictionary or thesaurus to locate synonyms and antonyms, words having the same meaning and words that are having opposite meanings to one another. So we will be covering this with simulation and examples. Moving on with our lecture number 3B, it says use dictionary or thesaurus to choose appropriate word definition according to the context. Now again, this is about using your dictionary or thesaurus, and this time we are going to look at the appropriate definition. We know that words have different definitions and they are of different kinds when we look them up in our dictionary or thesaurus. So we need to select the right definition of the word so that we can use them accordingly according to the context. So we will be learning about this one, and for lecture number 4, for lecture 4A, our students' learning outcome, they are 2 of them merged into one because they are relevant. It says demonstrate an understanding of interpreting and integrating information from a variety of sources like maps, graphs, charts, and diagrams. Now, we will be looking at these resources to understand our interpretation and integrate our information, link them together to make sense by using these different kind of sources. And then we will be covering skim and scan relevant information and main points in text to identify the writer's purpose, intended audience, and infer the theme or the main idea of the text, distinguishing between fact and opinion where necessary. Now, this SLO, in this one, we will be covering a very important technique or strategies of reading. They are called skimming and scanning. These are different, they are used for different purposes, and along with this we will be covering that how we can identify the main theme, the main idea, the purpose of the writer who's written the text, or the audience that are reading them, and they are also of different categories and different types. We will also be seeing that how we can identify the difference between fact and opinion whenever it is necessary, whenever it comes up in our text. So we will be covering all these different kind of things in our lecture number 4A, and this will be very interesting. Next one is lecture 4B, and the SLO is reading to identify, analyze, and structure an application or a letter or a report. So we need to learn, we need to read all these different kind of text mentioned, application, letter, and report, identify them, analyze them thoroughly, and also try to learn how do we structure these when we are in the need. So application, letter, or report, we will be covering all these in our lecture number 4B. Now for lecture 4C, our students' learning outcome is analyze that text comprises a group of paragraphs that develop on the main idea addressed by the writer throughout the text. So we need to see that any text is having different kind of paragraphs. So, and all the when they are combining together, they share a main idea. So we will be covering this one, and we will be looking at a text as an example. So moving on with our lecture number 5A, our students' learning outcome is engage in extended discussions and debates, taking into account other speakers' viewpoints and presenting one's own with clarity and coherence. Now, this is about oral communication, where you need to focus on your oral communication skills. You will be engaging in long, extended discussions, and they are happening when you exchange and listen to the other person as well. It's a give and take, back and forth exchange of talks, and you will be we will be discussing different techniques and points so that you can extend your discussion with anyone. Next one, we have our lecture number 5B. It's composed of two students' learning outcome in this lecture 5B. First, we will compare and write informal and formal letters to people in extended social and academic environments for various purposes. So, we will be writing informal and formal letters, and we will compare them to see where do they differ. Then we will write a formal letter or an email, application, complaint, acceptance or rejection, or for condolence. All these different purposes are mentioned. We will be seeing letters to the editor, police report using vocabulary, tone, and style appropriate to context and relationship between addresser and the addressee. Addresser who's addressing somebody, and addressee is the one who's being under the address, who's being addressed. So we will be covering all these things, and this is about the writing competency, as you can see over here. So the first one is clear, and for the second one, I would like to tell you that the application or complaint or acceptance, we can write all these different formal and informal email or letters for different purposes, and they're equally very important. So we will be covering them in our learning outcome. Next one is our lecture number 5C with the SLO. Use letter string OUGH or O words. Words that are ending with the following word mentioned, OUGH, like in the word tough or rough. So we will be covering that how we can form these kind of words and use them in our speech and writing. Moving on. Now at the end of our lesson, this video lesson, which was for introductory purpose, thank you for listening. I hope that we will have great time learning about all these different kind of students' learning outcomes in different lectures. So see you on the other side with lecture number 1. I hope that you're ready and set to learn about all the SLOs that we have in our unit number 5. See you. Allah Hafiz.